Once again, Adelante Worldwide. We're here today. Our special guest, Andrew Hayden. How you doing? Good?
I'm good.
All right.
I'm good.
So, Andrew.
Yeah.
What we can do here at Adelante Worldwide, since we're worldwide, we can conduct this interview anywhere would you like. Where would you like?
Trump's house.
Trump's house?
Trump's house.
Or Trump
Mar-a-Lago.
Oh, that is his house now.
Where?
Yeah.
Mar-a-Lago.
Mar-a-Lago. All right. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
All right, people. We are Adelante Worldwide. You know how we do this. We're back once again with a guest, of course. Got to start off right. My name, TC Valdez, Joe Ayala. Special guest today, Mr. Andrew Hayden. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm good.
Glad you made it.
I'm glad.
So have you watched the show before?
I have.
What do you think?
I think it's interesting. I think that you guys are sometimes a hoot. Sometimes you piss me off. Other times, I don't always agree with you.
Well, that's the point of our show, is to get opinions out there to discuss, start a discussion, a good, healthy one.
I like it better when you guys are drinking, though. Just saying.
And TC actually had something he wanted to say about opinions on our show.
Opinions? Oh, yes. So, we have, what do we have, 12 episodes now? This would be number 13, something like that. So we've gotten a lot of feedback, both good and bad, which it does, all of it is welcome. However, what we would like to see is put the comments, any questions, concerns, even opinions, for or against, in the comment section. Then we can clear up any kind of miscommunication or just start a healthy discussion. That's what we're all about, is to get the word out. Because if we just say something and it's misconstrued, that's not always a good thing. Communication is a two-way street.
But this is about Andrew, so enough about your own propaganda.
Total setup.
So, Andrew, you do a lot of stuff in the community. Would you
Yes.
say so?
I
You're
try.
a major player in the community.
I don't know if I'm a major player,
I
but
would say he is.
What do you do?
Well, for a job,
Yes.
I'm a prosecutor.
Okay, prosecute. We can take this off of, this could be considered maybe a part 2 of our addiction episode.
Yeah.
Okay, so, we talked about addiction a couple episodes ago. What's going to make this interesting is not only do we have information from a person who was an addict, information from a person who got clean, and now information from someone who prosecutes drug addicts.
And counsel.
Or I should say drug convictions.
Right.
There's a difference.
Prosecution and
No,
conviction.
being a drug conviction and a drug addict.
Well,
Because
yeah.
a drug convict, right, that's what I'm saying, I clarified it.
Some people are.
Clarified it.
Some people are still high when I convict them. No.
So what what kind of addiction did you have?
Meth.
How long were you addicted?
Well, I started. I started smoking pot when I was about 15.
So 1842?
Yes.
Around your guys' time frame, that's really...
Probably early or late 70s.
Okay.
So are you a believer that marijuana is the gateway drug?
Well, I don't know if it's a gateway for everyone, but and I'm not even certain that that's how I entered into it, but it was one of the first things I did. I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy the process, but...
How did you get connected with the meth? Same people?
Yeah. There was a group, we were just kids that were going to high school together, and I think maybe I was the first one of my group to get into meth. And we had, when I was in 12th grade, we started taking pills, like cross tops.
Did you have farm parties?
Farm parties.
Pharmaceutical parties? Where they all brought in a...
Oh, I wish. No. No, they were just,
Here, I got some, passed around.
Yeah, that's about it. It wasn't, we didn't do a ton of it, but, my buddies would do acid. I never did that.
And where were you at when all this transpired?
Location-wise?
Yes.
Palm Springs, California. Or Desert Hot Springs, California.
That's interesting. I didn't know meth had been around that long.
So
Well,
how
were you around that long?
I wasn't around.
were you? Were you around in the late 70s, early 80s?
No.
I was not.
Well, then you wouldn't have known.
We learned something new today.
So, okay, how long would you say you said you started at 15, and how long until you quit?
Well, so in different parts, right? I drank a lot. I went into the military when I was 20, and I didn't do meth.
What branch?
Air Force. I was a fireman in the Air Force, and I didn't do meth there, but I drank a lot. And then when I got out, I stopped drinking. Sort of. I didn't do it a lot, but got back into meth. So it was about 24 to 30. 30 is when I stopped.
30 is when you stop? Okay.
Why?
Well, my son, I had a 4-year-old son who was motherless because his mother died when he was 4. And I was homeless. My parents had said, go away, which was the best thing that they could do. Finally, after paying for everything that I did. Enabling, codependence for sure. And I wasn't out on the streets for years. It was just like months. And then my son's mother died, and my parents were like, you got to take care of your kid. And I didn't want to be there
who you
anymore.
were.
I didn't want to be that way for a long time, but I didn't know how to stop. And so that was the beginning of the end.
Had you tried before unsuccessfully to stop? Or
no,
when
not really.
You stopped?
Yeah, I never really tried. Like I did. Maybe I tried. I can't remember. If
Okay,
I really
but
tried that much.
would it be safe to say that when you made the conscious decision this time
Right.
to stop, you made the decision, you sought help for it, focused on becoming clean, and stopped?
Yes, I went to a program. I went to a rehab. I stayed there for 30 days. I left against advice, but I wanted to stay clean, and I just kept going to AA meetings, NA meetings, got sponsors, worked the steps of the 12 steps, and did it that way.
And you did it.
Yeah.
See, which goes back to, it is a solid decision, and you did it.
Right.
Good job.
Well,
Good job. Congratulations. Well, I didn't
thanks.
say you didn't do it alone. You did it with help, of course.
Yes.
But to go that way, to become sober and clean, you saw the path that you needed to take, and you took it.
That's right.
I applaud you for that. So, and you don't drink now.
No, it's been 22 years.
Wow.
You're 52?
52.
Nice. So, do you see, how can I say it? And you also worked in a rehab at one point.
Yeah, when I left that rehab, I didn't have a job. I didn't have any kind of skills. I barely skated through high school. I tried about a semester of college, but all I wanted to do was get high. Then I went in the military, and that was a fireman there, but it doesn't really. It's not conducive to using that when I got out, so I didn't follow that path. But I got into thinking about what I wanted to do with my future once I stopped using the drugs, and I thought, hey, going to talk to addicts sounds like an awesome thing to do.
How'd that work out?
Do you think they listen more from people that have been addicted than to someone that hasn't?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's often the statements that are made by the addict, right or wrong, and I'm not even certain, this is real or, but they say, why should I listen to you? You've never been where I've been, and you have an experience if you've been a user to say, yeah, I've been there before, maybe get some credibility right off the bat with somebody.
See, now that's interesting you bring that up. And where I work, I've had one guy flat out tell me that same thing, saying, you have nothing for me, you're not an addict, you don't know what I've been through. Which, okay, that's fine.
Right.
Go on to the next person. But what I feel is important is you have to accept your past. You have to accept what you've done. I get that. You have, but I think it's important not to live or make but relive the heyday, so to speak, and always constantly talking about that. Because in my opinion, if you're always focusing on the past, there's no way to be progressive and go into the future. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's a statement: you don't want to regret the past,
No,
nor wish to shut the door on it, but you've got to move forward.
you have to acknowledge it,
Yeah,
and you have to go on.
and I don't think that necessarily you don't have anything to offer anybody just because you're not an addict or an alcoholic. How do people who aren't that way? How do they succeed in life?
Well,
that's what I would like to know. That's the things that I needed to know. How do I succeed in life? Because I wasn't succeeding
Right.
the way
Doing
I
what you were
was.
doing. That's exactly what I tell them. I say, I can't talk to you about your past, but I can talk to you about your future because I can let you know what works for me.
Right. And there's places to go for people to hook up with other like individuals.
So you think it's different for everyone though? So AA meetings, NA meetings worked for you. Rehab, counseling, prayer. Some people do prayer. Do you think?
Yeah, I don't think there's any one way to get sober. That
Absolutely.
Church, whether it's church, they've got rational recovery, which is not, which really denounces AA and NA style of doing it. People get sober there. All sorts of different ways.
I've had a couple guys get sober working their mental health, figuring out why they made the decisions that they did. Not go to any meetings, but they went to mental health. And right now they're anywhere from 9 to 13 months into sobriety, feel solid.
Yeah. My father was, he wasn't a big AA person when he was an alcoholic, and he died with about 29 years of sobriety.
Nice.
And he didn't do a lot of it. He did some, but he never worked the steps or did the traditional stuff that they do. But he stayed sober. I don't know how it is for one person as it is for the other. I mean, I know that what worked for me and what I did.
Sure. We're going to take our first break. We'll put up some stats about places to go to get help up here on the break, and then we'll come back.
Be right back. All right, we're back. Our special guest today, Andrew Hayden. Now, we talked about Andrew's days of addiction.
And his days of recovery. Speaking of recovery, Andrew, what would you suggest for someone that needs help with any type of addiction? What's your suggestion to them?
Well, you can call places like Southeast Mental Health has Peer House.
Peer House.
That would be a place to go to get information on all sorts of things.
Online.
Online? Oh, yeah, online. And they've got worldwide organizations for AA and NA and stuff like
What
that.
about Colorado Coalition for the Homeless?
That's a possibility.
Do they have to be referred? Or?
Yeah, there. You go to the website, coloradocoalition.org, and there's a referral packet in that site. You fill that out, fax it in, and then they'll get in touch with you.
And Andrew is proof that you can turn your life around if you want it.
I think
Absolutely,
so.
absolutely, and that's what Adelante Worldwide is all about: promoting positivity and everything. Not only that, but showing that it works. We could talk about it working and everything. However, I think it's awesome that we have a person like Andrew who's gone through it, who has done it, and is successfully continuing that life.
People ask me or are surprised. I don't want to say that you're an addict. Aren't you worried that somebody will find out? No, I want people to find out that I'm a recovering addict. How else do people know that you can do it?
Yeah.
Unless
you
Nice.
see it.
Yeah.
Nice,
So.
nice. So you don't hold that as a stigma.
No, not at all. When I got hired down here, my boss knew my background. The court system, people in the courts know where I come from and what I did. It's not a secret to me.
And obviously you agreed to come on our show to talk about it openly.
That's right.
Nice, nice. So the next step is, so we talked about you being in California. What brought you to Colorado?
Well, I...
That's Colorado for everyone.
Colorado.
For Andrew's friends, Colorado.
That's all right. I'm from Southern California. Northern
Mexico.
Right. Same thing. Better Mexican feed.
How dare you say that?
It is what it is.
Different Mexican.
Okay, different. Can we agree better than Tex-Mex? Do you like Tex-Mex?
I love Texas.
Whatever.
And
We
the
can
music,
agree
too.
to disagree. That's a good thing about our
You
show.
have the right to be wrong.
So, what brought you to Colorado?
Which is the color red.
Yes.
Is that right?
That is true.
See,
No,
I think
color's
you were
red.
Blue.
Right. Well, I went to school. I went back to school when I got sober. I started probably when I was 32. I went to College of the Desert. Became a drug counselor. Was a drug counselor for a number of years. Hated that job. It was a hard job. It really is a hard job. It sucks a lot of energy out of,
It can.
you know.
Did
dealing with-
did you feel a lot of transference?
I mean, no.
No.
I just felt like nobody listened to me. It was tough.
The frustration of them not being able to do that?
Right. And it some people are just made to do that job. You
Right.
know.
And you weren't.
I wasn't. I didn't.
So then you said, I'm going to be a lawyer.
Well, I said I wanted to go back to school. That's what I said. So I went back and I got into
Trump University.
Trump University, and I got this place right here. I went to get my education at a junior college, and then I transferred to a four-year university, University of California, Riverside. And then when I graduated there, I didn't know what else to do, so I thought it could either be a teacher or go to law school, and I always wanted, when I was a kid, to be a lawyer. So I took the LSAT test and applied to law schools, and I got out in Denver.
Accepted.
Law.
Colorado said, yeah, we'll take that weddle.
We'll
Have him
take
come
that
over.
guy. We need the money.
Nice. So, how long have you been practicing?
8 years.
8 years. Nice. All local?
All local. My first job, my first paying legal gig was at the district attorney's office here at the 16th Judicial District.
Nice. So, as a prosecutor, obviously now you're on this side of the desk as opposed to the other side.
Right.
Do you feel more compelled to try to get them help rather than being punished?
Yes. I think so. Right. I mean, people can argue that that's not true, but I
Right,
feel that
right.
that's true.
Right. You look more. You focus more on the help aspect, the rehabilitation, rather than the punishment.
I don't see a reason to send people to prison except in the most extreme circumstances.
That's what would you consider the most extreme circumstances? Is murder most extreme, or is it?
No, it can be all sorts of different things. I mean, look, let's just talk about somebody who's suffering from addiction.
Right. They get caught.
Yeah, they get caught. They go into the system. You try to get them help. We have a drug court here.
Yes.
People can get into the drug court. It's a really intensive probation, and you try to help them out. But people who using drugs is a crime, but the things that happen to get drugs are often crimes.
It's more of
Yes.
a crime. It's okay. Yes, you're doing drugs. That's a crime. But when you start robbing people, when you start doing stuff to get that money for the drugs, that's also a crime.
Right.
Well, that's true. However, just like we talked about in the addiction, I think, and I'd like to know your opinion on this. This is an umbrella statement, but like for example, the drugs aren't the problem. It's what people did about the problem, which caused other problems.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say for certain. Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Okay, fair enough.
The idea is that you've got a massive heroin problem out in this area, around the country, really,
Yeah.
and meth, but really heroin.
Is it
Right.
fair to the community to give people multiple chances? I see giving someone a second chance, but multiple chances to.
Well, I guess it really depends. I'm not one. I would have to. Is it just one chance? You just get one chance. I don't know. And what does that chance look like? Does it does the person get into drug court and that's their one chance, or do they get on regular probation and that's their one chance, or what? I mean, there's all sorts of everybody's
Variables.
different.
Sure.
Everybody's different.
Now, that's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because going off of what you said, everybody's different. Chances. One of the statistics at my job, it says that an alcoholic will take up to 7 times before it actually kicks in. 7 tries at sobriety.
Right, not 7 crimes.
No. 7 tries. Like I'm going to be sober, and he's sober for 60 days, but relapses.
Right,
that kind of thing.
right.
Now, what I've noticed, and I'd like your opinion on this too, is removing somebody from their environment has an extreme effect with their sobriety once they're.
You like sending them to rehab? Is that what you mean?
Well, I mean, even for probation, even for taking them out of the environment, because you're taking them out of their playground. You got to change your places, people, and things,
Right.
kind of thing. So, like for example, here at the coalition, we relocate people from Denver, from all parts of the state, way out at Fort Lyon, and they seem to think, okay, I'm not around what I'm used to, so it's not as tempting. I can focus more on myself.
Well, I think that certainly that's what rehabs often offer.
A
The
relocation.
biggest thing, not necessarily just relocation, but a removal from the situation that you're in,
Right,
immediate
right,
removal,
right.
into what is hopefully a drug-free zone. I mean, you probably can't even say the coalition is a drug-free zone, but
Sure.
it, to the best of its ability, it probably.
And I think that goes back to what you were asking, how many chances? Now, does that person get a chance and go right back into the neighborhood that they're going to? I think that is a recipe for disaster.
Well,
sometimes they don't have any other choice.
Maybe ask Joe, what do you mean by second chance? You mean if they screw up and commit another crime, they should go to prison, or they should go to community
Yes.
corrections?
Yes.
Or...
How many times do they get to do a certain thing to a certain person before, hey, that's enough, right? We gave you a chance. We tried to get you into drug court. We tried to get you a halfway house.
Right.
We tried to get you this. You even went to prison for a while, but now you're back and you're following the same circumstances. We're doing the same thing, getting the same results. When do we,
Well, so the statutes say this. There's been a new change in the drug statutes. It says because the favor right now is help, right? So it's treatment, it's community corrections rather than prison.
And I agree with that. I'm not saying that that's wrong, but at what point do you transition from help to?
I don't think there's a hard line.
Well, I don't think there's a hard line either. But what I was going to explain is that the statutes say that you've got to do what you can in the criminal justice system to get that person help. So you have to try. You have to exhaust
due
all
diligence?
remedies in order to get somebody help. Now, I will tell you, a lot of people that go to drug court, fail drug court. It's a very hard program. And so that's a probation program generally. So they end up violating their probation and they come into my courtroom, and then we try to figure out what the next step is. Often the next step is maybe it's a therapeutic community where they send the person for 90 days, 9 months into a therapeutic community. If that doesn't work, then sometimes it's going into community corrections. And if community corrections doesn't work, then it's prison.
Okay, so how does that work? Someone just says, "Hey, I'm addicted," and then you're going to drug court. What separates someone from being a big time drug dealer from saying, "Hey, I'm addicted. I need."
That's a fair question because drug courts don't allow or try not to allow drug dealers to come into this program. And it's tough because a lot of people sell drugs in order to supply their habit, their own habit.
So as long as whether you sell, the minimal amount as opposed to kilos, you're still a dealer.
Right. I mean, a dealer is
A dealer is the one who sells.
right, but I mean, there's gradations of dealers, right?
Sure.
But what happens is that the lawyers make arrangements, deals, plea agreements, and they put it out there in front of probation. And probation does an evaluation of these individuals. And these evaluations are supposed to be what they call evidence-based practices. There are a lot of tests, etc., and they get a number, and then if you fit into the right number, you may qualify for drug court. You may not qualify for drug court. If you don't qualify for drug court, then that's not a sentencing option for the court, and the court can either reject or accept your plea arrangement. So not everybody gets in. Some people go to prison. I mean, that's just
the way of the world.
That's it.
What do you think about mass incarceration? Do you think it's a real thing?
Well, as I said, I don't think is it a real thing.
All right, we had a small glitch, which usually happens every episode. Jimmy messes something up, and we get cut off. But we were talking about mass incarceration. So you do think mass incarceration is a thing?
Yeah,
that's happening right now.
There's millions of people right?
Yes. Do you think it has to do with our drug laws?
I think it has to do with a number of things. Drug laws, drugs.
War on drugs.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
I mean,
I
don't think there's any
Is
one.
it drug related that the amount of inmates has increased?
Yeah, I think that obviously people are incarcerated for drug convictions in mass.
Do you think some of those sentences are unjust that were given out?
No, I don't know if they were unjust. At the time the laws were written, that's what people wanted. But maybe we've changed where we're at, you know.
And I think that another factor that could come into that would be, where has it increased? For example, just because a lot more people have gone into prison because of drugs doesn't mean that all the possibilities have been exhausted. Some areas, I'm sure, are more prone to drug arrest than others. So by that alone, the number of people going to prison is going to be increased.
Yeah, I think that's right.
That could be right. I doubt it, but it could be.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it's a possibility.
Do you get a lot of, what would you say, negativity from people around the valley who feel that you may be too light on drug users and your sentencing or your deals that you cut with them?
I mean, I haven't heard a lot of negativity other than from you. No, well, I don't. I don't get a lot of grief from anything that we do yet. Generally, but do you think that that's occurring? That we are too light on drug users?
On drug users
or drug
crimes?
Drug crimes. Yeah, I feel like you see a lot of the same people over and over again. And that could just be a perception thing because, you know, I know a lot of people, but it seems like you see the same people in and out. They have an app on your phone where you could see who's in county jail, right? And you see the same
Mobile
people. Mobile Patrol, Vine Mobile.
Right.
That you see the same people over and over again. It's like,
those aren't necessarily all drug related. They're probably drug based.
The majority of them.
Now I think there though is the sample of the people you're looking at. Of course, the people who are highly addicted, yeah, you're going to see them more often.
So, but you just asked me a question concerning drug laws, right? Yeah. And do I think that the drug laws have caused mass incarceration? But yet you seem to be a proponent for drug laws.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that I think there's a difference. Let's see. How would you say this? There's a difference in how they were sentenced back then to how they're sentenced now. I'm not saying we should give them life in prison, but 6 months probation is probably not the opposite of that. So let's not go too far on it, but sometimes they need to take some time and figure out what's going on with them.
And that I agree with you. I don't think that individuals should be constantly on probation, one after the next.
Yeah.
But the other side of that is that we're constrained by the facts of a case. And what you see is somebody that obviously is guilty. I can't prove beyond a reasonable doubt, or I would struggle with this as opposed to having other facts. And deals are cut because of many things. Judicial efficiency is one. That's the probably the poorest reason. Two is because you don't have a lot of facts. That would a jury reach the same conclusion as you would? And do you want to waste resources going after that when you can provide them with another avenue? And you hope that other avenue works. And it's not a science. It's no real science to it.
If you had your opportunity, what would you do differently with the legal system as pertaining to drug crimes?
Well, I like the direction that we're heading with treatment because I think that is ultimately going to help. I don't think it helps everybody, but recidivism rates do drop with people that are given the opportunity to get into the programs. So I think that's smart. We do a lot of or the judicial system, not necessarily a lot with criminal law, but we do dispute resolution. We try to figure out ways not to put people into the courtroom and try to figure out ways to help them prior to being in there before you're going to be judged by a jury of your peers.
And once you're convicted, you lose a lot of rights that people aren't aware of, right?
Yeah. There's you can't own a gun anymore. It's either good or bad because maybe yours wasn't a violent crime, or you're a hunter. Especially out here, people are hunters out here, and that is a significant issue. And it's a Second Amendment issue.
And I've heard too, it's hard for someone to come back into society that's been labeled as a felon because then you don't qualify for certain benefits. It's hard for you to find a place to live because people don't like felons staying with family members and stuff like that. So it's really hard for them to get back into society after they've been sent.
That's right. There's not a lot of employers that also will hire you. Lewis Bolt, right? Yeah. It's one of the bigger employers of individuals in that type of circumstance. And that should be applauded because we need. It's a struggle to get everybody working, let alone somebody who has a felony. I mean, it's tough. And we put these people back into the community, and we just hope that it works, and it doesn't always work.
Yeah. So my thing wasn't that we need to lock everybody up, but I'm just saying it seems like one extreme to another, right? So either they're skating free all the time, or they get given these ridiculously long sentences. I just think it needs to be.
Well, I think the frustration comes with the part that you see, because you basically see the end result. Like you were saying, you either see them getting on probation or going to prison. Okay, that's
for long amounts of time.
Either way, what we see as the public is only 10% of the decision that went into that. So I always, back and forth, I always tell people what you see is an iceberg. Is whenever you look at an iceberg, all you see is the 10% above the water. You don't see what's underneath. So what we don't see is all the process they went into to come up with that decision. And I think that's where a lot of frustration comes in.
Yeah. Joe, you talk about extremely long sentences for individuals, that there's the disparagement between too little and then too much. For a person who possesses a small amount of methamphetamines or heroin, it's about 18 months in jail.
Just for having that on.
Right. Now, if they are a previously convicted felon, it could be up to 3 years. If you have maybe 7 grams or more, and I'm not certain I have my weights right, it's only a few more years other than that. So you never really get to an extreme unless you've got 3 prior felonies, and if you have 3 prior felonies in a lifetime, you get 4 times.
But that's just for holding it, right?
That's for possession.
Just possession.
Not sales.
No, not sales. That's just for holding it. Okay.
Right.
So you don't even have to commit a crime. If you're holding that,
you've committed a crime. You've committed a crime.
A violent crime. Let's say that.
All right. So different. I mean, most drugs
but
are not a violent crime.
Yeah, just for holding that, you're going to get that stricter sentence. Do you think that's different for something like drunk driving? Why wouldn't that be a stricter sentence?
One's legal, one's not.
Drunk driving's not legal.
Well, drunk driving's not, but
they've got a new felony drunk driving law that
after
just
how many
came in.
times?
So on the 4th. And that's a level 4 drug felony, and it's 2 to...
Well, then, of course, in case... Then I'm sure
2 to
there's a
6 years.
difference whether there's a fatality involved. And sure, that...
Vehicular homicide.
But that can happen anytime. And I think the stats show that more people die from drunk driving than at the time it was crack cocaine in the 80s. And yet crack cocaine held a longer sentence just for possession than if you got caught drunk driving.
But that was then.
I'm sure it's gone up since then too.
Right, but you're talking the difference between state and federal laws, right? I mean, the state laws, and I can only speak for the last 8 years that I've been
That you've been practicing. You can't say what happened before.
Right. Right. But I do know that
that messes me up too, because you look really old, like you've been doing this a long time, but
Right.
you've only been doing it for 8 years.
Well, it benefits me in the court.
Yeah.
People think that I've been there doing it.
And then when you talk in your English accent, they think you're smarter.
Oh, I'm a barrister. Right. But so the feds have the same laws, or the same drugs are, except for marijuana these days in Colorado, have the same, illegality to them. But there's different sentences. So I don't know if the feds, because I don't practice federal law, don't have stricter, longer sentences than do the states. The states don't have that long unless you are a habitual criminal. And it's really long.
And
it can be really, really long.
And of course, I'm sure, and I'm guessing here, that it depends on the number of other felonies or other laws broken in combination at the time. Would that add to it?
Well, with the drugs, if you're just holding that, if you have no priors, you're going to get time, right? If you're holding that amount.
You're not going to go to prison if you've never had a felony. I'm not... I
Highly
can't
unlikely.
say for
Highly
certain
unlikely.
that you won't go to prison. You asked me what was my opinion when we first started concerning whether or not somebody should go to prison. I think in the most extreme cases, people should go to prison. I wouldn't consider somebody who doesn't have any priors, who's just holding a quantity of methamphetamines, probably needs to go to prison. And I don't think the state drug laws really speak to somebody going to prison on the first offense.
All right, we're back. Me and Andrew were talking about mass incarceration and sentencing of drug crimes and drug users. And we can probably go back and forth for a while on that. But we're going to move on to a different subject. I want to know how you feel about politics and the current state of our union right now.
So you're getting off of something I know about because you're wrong about, and into something
I don't
where you're going to know that you're going to call me wrong.
I won't call you.
I love Trump. No, I'm just kidding.
We are at his house,
right? That's why I picked Mar-a-Lago.
Have you ever seen anything like this in your...
Never. This is
unprecedented.
Unprecedented.
It's insane. I'll tell you, I'm not a Trump fan.
What do you think about on the legal side of things when you see all these executive orders and you see possible deportations? Does that affect you?
Possible that's doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it affects us. Look, to a certain extent, should people who commit crime who are not from this country, should they stay in this country? And I think for the most part, if that's the only thing we're talking about, we probably could reach, a conclusion that that's not something that we desire.
And, something me and TC were talking about today is when, for some reason, the way we perceive it, when people start talking about immigration and rounding up people, it seems like they talk about the Mexican border and the Mexican people, Spanish surnames when they talk about immigration. But there's a lot of people that are here that overstay their visas, that come from all over the world, that are part of the immigration problem, that
are considered illegal now.
Illegal immigrants, but for some reason they just target. It seems like this administration is targeting the Mexican people.
I think there's a reason for that, though, in my opinion. Just because Mexico is the closest other country that we have an issue with. I mean, the closest as far as two countries would be Canada and Mexico, but you never hear illegal Canadians coming over. Now, and by sheer number alone, I would think there would be more Mexicans here, I shouldn't say Mexicans, more Spanish-speaking people here, because you got Honduras, El Salvador, all those that speak Spanish. I think that's a buzzword, because I'm all for anybody who is here illegally, not just Mexicans, but West Coast Asians, East Coast, the other countries out there. You know, so, but I think...
I just heard Trump pull up, so you guys should probably take off. I'll talk to him.
There you go. I think it's just because of sheer numbers. That's why they target Mexicans. What do you think?
Yes, I think Mexico gets a bad rap. You know, our problems have always been, you know, they're taking our jobs. They being illegal aliens, being Mexicans, right, taking our jobs. People coming from not Mexico, but Latin.
That's what I'm saying.
Countries.
Spanish speakers,
right.
And they just umbrella them as Mexicans.
But we're hiring them, right?
Yeah,
we're hiring them. You know, they just did that. Closing down
the Day Without Immigrants.
Day Without Immigrants. They just did that yesterday. I didn't notice any difference, but
actually,
okay,
it did hit locally, because here in Lahana, one that I read about was Lucy's Tacos closed for the day.
My wife doesn't let me go to Lucy's.
That's true. Yeah, so it wouldn't have affected you. I wanted some California nachos, and I couldn't have them.
Right. I first started my internship with Colorado Legal Services, and they have a really big immigration law section that I have a friend that does, and it's. They come out and they work with the farm workers, and they try to protect them from, employer abuse, helping them to not be abused. Abused. Right. And I think that's what we're doing. I think that we're abusing
taking advantage
Mexicans and other Latin people at our expense. Our own expense, because it's going to cost us a lot of money in the long run, I think, to remove everybody from here, and then we're going to have higher.
I think not only remove them, but to replace them.
Right. Well, look, there's a place in California. There's the dam in California that's failed, right?
Yep.
And we're going to spend billions of dollars on a wall, but we can't keep people safe from dams from breaking.
Right.
So
our citizens.
Well, they're mad at California right now.
Yeah.
The administration is mad at California right now.
The Trump administration?
Yeah. Jerry Brown is a lightning rod for
controversy.
I think it's safe to say, it doesn't even matter what side, because I've admitted before, I am not one on politics. But with the stats coming out, the stories coming out, it doesn't look good. I mean, not because he's a Republican, or not because I think his decisions aren't based on his party. I think his decisions are based on him.
I'm grateful that Colorado did not vote for Trump, because I'd be really pissed at Joe.
But
I'd be really pissed at Joe.
The place that we are living in, Otero County, went heavily for Trump.
Sure.
And
but it didn't give him one election.
And is it coincidence that Joe is in Otero County?
A lot of rural places around the nation, not just Colorado, went heavily for Trump.
Sure, Bent County went the same.
That's a shocker. But that speaks to who he's reaching out to, right? He's talking to people that feel like they've been forgotten, people that feel like they're not being listened to. And I think it's funny that some people say, if a minority is out of a job, it's like, this is America. Pull yourself up. You can do it. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. These are the same people that are saying, the government needs to give me my job back. These are these Rust Belt voters saying, I need my jobs back. Bring Trump in. He's going to bring our jobs back.
Right.
How does that work? I don't understand that.
Well, there's a lot of dualism everywhere, Joe. I mean, people tell these young girls that they have to have these babies, that they can't get an abortion, and they really chide them into keeping their child. And then when they do have the child and they can't work, then they say
Set up
you're
to
lazy.
fail.
You need to go out there and get a job. I think there's a lot of problems, and we can't just address it. I don't think with the way Trump is in isolationism, just thinking we have to think America first to a certain extent, but the world
Looks to us.
right. I mean, we need to help Mexico. A healthy Mexico means people not coming over here, or a healthy
Illegally.
Canada doing that, or any Europe. And
I think he just used a lot of buzzwords that people were afraid to say, and that's what riled up stuff. I believe that.
right, and there was Hillary the best candidate to run
No.
against him?
Well-
Joe would say no, and I agree that she wasn't. The problem was at some point we needed to come together, and
Right.
I think Bernie Sanders figured that out.
I have to
His
agree
followers didn't, but he did.
there. I agree there. And it's tough because everything is so interwoven as far as decision making goes. It's hard to say, well, if I do this here, nothing else will be affected, which we all know is impossible. If you do this, there's going to be a ripple effect somewhere down the road.
Let me ask you a question real quick. He is our president,
Yes.
right? So we are stuck. Do you envision yourself ever, supporting any of his decisions?
I did. I supported him when he got rid of the TPP. I was not in favor of that. The Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Was I talking about transgender people? You were
No, TPP. That was one of his first executive orders that he got rid
the
of.
trans what?
Trans-Pacific Partnership. It was a trade deal that was supposed to replace NAFTA. A lot of people felt it was unfair to.
Oh, the tariffs, right? Was that the tariff thing? No, I don't know.
That was one of them that I supported him on. Right? It's hard to support any other ones past that. But so it's not to say that I won't support him. It's just to
Right.
say that what he's doing is pretty crazy right now, and I just can't get behind a lot of what he's doing.
Right, but you would you're not saying that we should just shut down the government like they did with Obama.
No,
right?
absolutely not. That doesn't fix anything.
Right.
Right? We have to move forward as a country. If he fails, we all fail. But at the same time, you can't just let him do whatever he wants to do.
Right.
Right? Especially
The
when
checks
he's-
and balances.
especially when he's saying this wild stuff that's just off the wall. And that's what, as a county, rural areas across the country, we don't have to worry about Washington. We need to work together as counties, as small communities to get stuff together. And then, that'll work itself up to, it's always from the bottom up. It's never
I
from the
agree with
top
you
down.
there. Absolutely, it's the foundation of any movement that'll make it grow.
And I've been talking to a lot of Republicans, and they're not the biggest Trump fans either. They started off being these huge Trump fans, but real Republican conservatives, they're kind of saying, "What's going on with this guy right now?" It's hard to support him no matter what side of the politics you're on right now.
It's fun to watch sometimes.
And I think that they could be playing him in a long game. So if they end up getting rid of him, they'll say, "Oh, Trump did all that.
You-
Still vote for."
And we haven't even touched the Russian connection.
No.
That's a whole different ballgame right there.
But it was a great conversation with you tonight, Andrew.
I had a great time.
We want to thank Andrew for coming on. I want to
I'm
thank
glad that you
Joe.
let a white guy come.
We have to. It's
We've had Tim Klob on.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
But he's kind of Chicano by osmosis. He grew up here. Of course, always want to thank the crew
Why can't I be
by
grew
osmosis.
up-
You're not here long enough yet.
here?
Here.
In La Junta.
Oh, not in northern Mexico,
No.
Southern California.
We haven't proved that yet. You haven't provided your birth certificate.
Wrong.
So,
I can't even be an honorary.
well, you are.
All right, so we talked about addiction. We talked about recovery. We talked about the law and sentencing and mass incarceration. We just got done talking about politics. What's next for Andrew Hayden? What Where do you want to be next? Are you going to go run for district attorney? Are you going to start your own law firm? What's next for you?
I love being a district attorney. I envision myself retiring as a deputy district attorney at least. Would I like to? Do I have political ambitions to be a DA or the elected DA? I like to probably do that sometime. I don't know if it's soon or not.
It's not out of the question.
No, it's not. I really love what I do.
Starting your own law firm, maybe?
No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be in the private sector. I might have to be because I serve at the will of the DA.
Whoever is the DA.
And that just may be something that I do.
Oh, well, we look forward to seeing more of you, Andrew. We thank you for coming on to the show.
Yes.
All right.
Gracias.
Hey, and if anybody needs help, look me up. I'm willing to help out.
8675309.
And I appreciate you guys drinking off camera.
I haven't drank it.
I want to thank Andrew for coming on the show. Of course, we got to give props to our crew. Joe Ayala, behind the camera. We got the eye candy, Jimmy Cordova. Our sound man couldn't make it today.
He was under the weather.
We're going to do the best that we can. Thank you very much for tuning in. Until the next time.